All right, guys, here we are in our third section of the number sense portion of preparing for the CSAT in math. Preparing for the CSAT, just like preparing for any test, is a very individual thing, especially when we get to this section where we're talking about calculations within our number system. Preparing for a test like this, some of you are going to remember a lot more about doing those types of calculations with different parts of our number system and so on, and some of you are going to have some holes maybe in different places and so on. And so when we get to this part of the course here in preparing for the CSAT, especially in this section, but really throughout the rest of it here, it's going to be up to you to determine what you need and what you don't need based on how much you remember of math. And so some of you may be able to skip through some of these sections, but some of you may need every detail of some of these sections. Now, if you do end up skipping some of the sections because you remember how to do this, you know how to do this, and so you're moving on, that's fine as long as you realize that for credit for this course, you are going to have to show that you have mastered that concept. And so instead of me reinventing the wheel for all of these different types of calculations within our number system, we are actually going to make use of some internet resources here, and we're going to make use of the Khan Academy. If you've not heard of the Khan Academy, it was started by Samuel Khan. It has his focus has been to make videos on pretty much not every topic in school, but just about. There are multiple topics within his videos, the Khan Academy, and there's over 4,000 videos that he has created within that. And his purpose is to provide a quality education for anyone, anywhere. That's kind of their byline for their site. And so we're going to make use of their videos instead of me making a video on all the same concepts. He explains things very well. Thousands and thousands and people have used his videos, and so they're good videos, and so there's no reason to not use them. And so you watch what you need. And actually this section, as we progress right here in this first section of this video, will refer you to the Moodle concept because there are links to very specific videos on the Khan Academy for you to watch. Okay? And so basically what we're referring to here when we're talking about all these different calculations within the different operations that we do in our number system, each one of them is its own algorithm. Now again, we've defined that term before, but an algorithm is just a multiple step process. So creating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich is an algorithm because it is a multiple step process. And so every one of our operations that we do with numbers is an algorithm, some of them more complex than others. Okay? And so we're going to go back to the basics. And so again, if you need this, then you need to go watch these videos and you need to go into the Moodle component that has this written out for you. And has these links built in. So we're starting with addition. So if you need to remember how to add within our number system, like carrying numbers over from decimal place to decimal place and things like that, then you need to watch the first video that's linked within the Moodle environment for the Moodle component for this section. The next video will be on subtraction. And of course it is the opposite process. You need to be able to borrow from the next tens place over. You need to understand the concept that subtraction is the opposite of addition for what we're getting to in the next unit of the CSAT when we start talking about algebra. The next video after that is talking about multiplication. Now, it is going to be extremely difficult for you to understand how to multiply, do the multiplication algorithm, multiply numbers within our number system if you don't have the multiplication tables, our basic multiplication tables or multiplication facts, some people call them, memorized, absolutely memorized. Okay? You need to know what 9 times 8 is just like that. You need to know what 7 times 8 is just like that. You just need to know those. Okay? Up through 12, you should know. You should just have them memorized. And so if you don't, for whatever reasons, if you struggle with that, then you need to do some research here. You need to Google multiplication tables or Google multiplication facts or memorizing multiplication facts and see if there are some tools out there that will help you trigger that in your brain to be able to memorize those things. Another resource would be to search the App Store for multiplication tables or multiplication facts and see if there are some apps that you can use on your phone or iPad that would help you memorize the multiplication tables. That is an absolute must. You have to have those multiplication facts just down pat, just fast. All right. Then the next video in the multiplication segment of the Moodle has to do with multiplying larger numbers and the algorithm for that, and setting that process up for columns, keeping the columns lined up and things like that. The next video has to do with the distributive property, and you need to know the distributive property. The distributive property actually helps you in doing mental math. And so let's say that we had a number like, or a problem like 14 times 50. Well, you need to be able to understand the distributive property to be able to do this mentally, that that's 10 times 50, which is 500, plus 4 times 50, which is 200, and add those two together, and so 14 times 50 is 700, to where you can just do that mentally, quickly in your head. So the distributive property is critical. It helps you with mental math. You need to understand the next video, which is talking about the commutative property. Commutative property, you need to understand that a commutative property, which just has to do with order, the fact that order matters or it doesn't matter. The commutative property works in addition and multiplication. So 2 plus 3 is the same thing as 3 plus 2. Or 4 times 5 is the same thing as 5 times 4. It works in addition and multiplication, but it does not work in subtraction. Okay? 5 minus 4 is not the same thing as 4 minus 5. Or it does not work in division. 3 divided by 2 is not the same thing as 2 divided by 3. And so you need to know when the commutative property works and when it doesn't work. Okay? You need to understand, the next video has to do with factors. And factors are simply when we write a number like 14, let's just use it. 14 can be written as 2 times 7. And so 2 and 7 are factors of 14. Because they are multipliers that go into 14, they are called factors. And then factors lead us to the process of prime factorization. And so you need to remember the concept of prime factorization. And prime factorization is when we take a number like 24 and we do a factor tree. Remember that? And so a factor tree, you would find the smallest number that goes into that, preferably, which is 2. 2 goes into that 12 times, and then we start over again. 2 goes into that 6 times, and we start over again. 2 times into that goes in 3 times. Until we get all these leaves on the branches of this tree, all the leaves must be prime numbers. Once they're all prime numbers, then we're done with that prime factorization. So you need to know how to do this. You need to know what a prime factorization is. All right, and then that finally leads us to division. And you need to know the division algorithm. And I know sometimes it's a joke out there of why do we teach 4th graders or 3rd graders or whatever long division, how complex that is. It is complex. It is the concept of an algorithm. You need to be able to do a step-by-step process and have the discipline to do that. Okay? And be able to see that through and finish that up. Have some perseverance in solving a problem. That's certainly a basis within Common Core. And so as we progress with that, you need to know how to do the long division algorithm.